إذا كنت تريد أن تكون على مذهب السلف تعلم مذهب السلف.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So now we're going to start briefly with the explanation of the Kitab Sifatu Salat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Prophet's prayer described by Shaykh al-Albāni rahimahullah rahmatullahi alayhi. So we're going to start with just a brief introduction today. We're not going to go into too much detail, just taking some general definitions. And so it's the explanation, it's the book written by Shaykh al-Albāni rahimahullah, and we're going to go through the explanation of Shaykh Muhammad Bāzmūl hafidhahullah. I'm going to go through his explanation of it, which is quite detailed. Yes, we're not going through the whole explanation, but just certain parts of it. And even he wrote a very, as I was mentioned earlier, wrote a very tremendous muqaddimah for this book, subhanAllah, where he talks about its author, Shaykh al-Albāni rahimahullah, and he defends him from all those doubts that they throw out there about him, and he praises his works and discusses his life in detail. And in about the first 90 pages he does that in, which is obviously something that we don't have time right now to discuss, but bi'ithnillah, in matta'ana Allah bil hayat, then inshallah hopefully we can maybe discuss this at a later date, because it's very nice and detailed, and to know about the Shaykh himself, his life and his works. And it's about 90 odd pages that he talks about that in. And then he goes on to mention the topic of the book, which is about the ṣalāh. And the first thing he does is start with the definition of the ṣalāh, ta'rīf al-ṣalāh. And he says, as-salātu fil lugha ad-du'a. So salah in regards to the language perspective is ad-du'a. Then he mentions as-salātu fil shar'i, that the salah in regards to the shar', the legislation. He says, جاءت في القرآن العظيم لفظة الصلاة بالمعاني التالية. That he says that salah in the Quran has come with the following meanings. The word salah in the Quran has come with the following meanings, and he mentions quite a few of them. We'll go through them briefly inshallah. So he says الصلاة بمعنى الدعاء بالمغفرة. So as-salah, the meaning of which is ad-du'a bil-maghfirah, that making dua for someone for mercy. ومن ذلك قوله تبارك وتعالى إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. That Allah and His angels, and he mentioned in the Quran the ayah يصلون على النبي. So this يصلون على النبي, this salah here means making dua for النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بالمغفرة, for forgiveness. يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. O you who believe, صلوا عليه. Again we have the word salah, صلوا عليه, meaning make dua for him for forgiveness. So in this context, فالصلاة من الله المغفرة والرحمة, that the salah from Allah is forgiveness and mercy. ومن الملائكة الاستغفار, and from the angels is to seek forgiveness. ومن المؤمنين الثناء وطلب المغفرة والرحمة, and from the believers, when the believers send salah upon Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is a praise and also requesting forgiveness for him and mercy. ومنها قوله تبارك وتعالى خذ من أموالهم صدقة تطهرهم وتزكيهم بها وصل عليهم إن صلاتك سكن لهم والله سميع عليم. So take from their wealth sadaqah that will purify them. وصل عليهم, this is the shahid here, the word salah is mentioned again. وصل عليهم, seek forgiveness for them in this meaning. That's the first meaning, is to seek forgiveness. The second meaning, as-salatu bima'na al-qira'ah, as-salah with the meaning of reading, al-qira'ah, reading. ومن ذلك قوله تبارك وتعالى قل ادعوا الله أو ادعوا الرحمن أيما تدعوا فله الأسماء الحسنى ولا تجهر بصلاتك ولا تخافت بها وابتغ بين ذلك سبيلا. نعم. So the shahid here is نعم ولا تجهر بصلاتك, and do not be loud with your recitation. Do not be loud with regards to your recitation. So salah here meaning the recitation. وَلَا تُخَافِتْ بِهَا, and do not make it quiet. وَبَتَغِي بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ سَبِيلًا, but seek between the two a path or a way. So that's the second meaning, which is al-qira'ah, recitation. The third is as-salatu بِمَعْنَى ad-dīn. The as-salah, when as-salah is mentioned, it means ad-dīn, the religion. ومن ذلك قوله تبارك وتعالى قالوا يا شعيب أصلاتك تأمرك أن نترك ما يعبد آباؤنا. So the shahid here is that salah is mentioned, that is when they said to Shu'aib, Ya Shu'aibu, that does your deen, as-salatuka, but they use the word as-salah, but meaning your deen, does your religion order you that we shall leave off that which our forefathers worshipped. So as-salah in this ayah meaning ad-deen, meaning the religion. The fourth meaning, as-salatu bima'na mawdi' as-salah. That as-salah with the meaning of the place of salah, the place where salah is performed. ومن ذلك قوله تبارك وتعالى ولولا دفع الله الناس بعضهم ببعض لهدمت صوامع وبيع وصلوات ومساجد. نعم, فالصلوات here mentioned صلوات ومساجد, the places of prayer, the places of prayer. نعم. The fifth meaning, as-salatu bima'na as-salatu al-shar'iyyah. As-salah meaning the salah that is shar'iyyah, that is prescribed, the salah that is mentioned as the salah that we know it as, that is prescribed, the prayer. ومن ذلك قوله تبارك وتعالى الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. So those in which believe in the unseen and they perform the prayer. They perform the prayer. And this is the meaning that we are going to be focusing on throughout this book and breaking down and explaining. This is the main meaning that we're going to be going through. It's the salah with in its legislative sense, which is the salah as we know it. The sixth meaning, الصلاة بمعنى الصلاة الشرعية ليوم الجمعة. So the prayer meaning the legislated prayer, but for يوم الجمعة, specifically for يوم الجمعة, which is mentioned in the Quran. ومن ذلك قوله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع. O you who believe, if it is called to the prayer on Yawm al-Jum'ah, then hasten to the remembrance of Allah and leave off trade. The seventh meaning, as is come in the Quran, all of these meanings taken from the Quran, just to break down all of the times that salah is mentioned in the Quran and the meaning behind it. So the seventh meaning.
What's the last meaning?
The last meaning was the legislated prayer, but with regards to Jum'ah. So Yawm al-Jum'ah. Seventh is as-salatu bima'na salatu al-janazah. The funeral prayer. As-salat meaning the funeral prayer. ومن ذلك قوله تبارك وتعالى ولا تصلي على أحد منهم مات أبدا. Now, do not pray upon any one of them Now, do not pray upon any one of them, meaning the janazah prayer. The janazah prayer, the funeral prayer. نعم. والمقصود هنا تعريف الصلاة الشرعية. طيب, so the ta'rif, the main definition that we're focusing on, which is the صلاة الشرعية, the legislated prayer as we know it. فهي أقوال, is statements. وأفعال, and actions. مفتاحها الطهور, that its key is الطهور, يعني being a state of purity. وتحريمها التكبير, and its state of prohibition is the takbir, saying Allahu Akbar. Yani meaning that there are prohibitions now in place from when that takbir is made. Yani the prohibition of talking, the prohibition of eating, the prohibition of drinking, and likewise. وتحليلها التسليم, and its tahleel, its opening, yani it's allowing for those permissible acts, is the at-taslim, is the taslim at the end of the prayer, saying Assalamu alaikum. And the salah, والصلاة على قسمين. The salah is of two types. صلاة فرض والصلاة تطوع. The fard prayer, the prayer that is obligatory, and the voluntary prayer, of two types. وصلاة الفرض على قسمين, and the obligatory prayer is of two types likewise. صلاة مفروضة بحق الإسلام, the salah that is obligatory with the right of Islam. وهي الصلوات الخمس في اليوم والليلة, and it is the 5 obligatory prayers performed in the day and the night. And the second type of the obligatory prayer is صلاة مفروضة لسبب, the obligatory prayer or the prescribed prayer for a reason. For a reason. كإلزام العبد نفسه في صلاة النذر, like the prayer of a person, of a slave who has made obligatory a prayer upon him due to an oath that he has taken. Then we have والصلاة التطوع على قسمين, that the voluntary prayer likewise is of two types. صلاة تطوع مقيد بوصف وهيئة من الشرع كالسنن الرواتب وصلاة الضحى وصلاة الليل والوتر. The salah that is specific, voluntary prayer that is specific, like the sunan al-rawatib, the prayers that you pray after the obligatory prayers, and likewise salat al-duha, the dawn prayer, after the dawn prayer, after fajr, wa salat al-layli wal-witr, and likewise performing the night prayers and al-witr. And he mentioned likewise with the witr, he is mentioned in the voluntary prayers. And it's mentioned with regards to here that there's khilaf with regards to this. And there's khilaf in this regard, and the ahnaf, that they hold it to be from the obligatory prayers. The ahnaf, the Hanafiya, that they hold it to be from the obligatory prayers, but not like the obligatory prayers that we perform, as in they make a distinction between al-witr and salawat al-khams. They make a distinction between the witr and the 5 prayers that we pray. They say the witr is a lesser obligation than those prayers, but it is still an obligation. Yeah?
There's a sin upon the person that doesn't perform.
Yeah. So they hold it to be wajib, not fard. So they say that there's a difference between fard and wajib. This is the Hanafiya. They say fard, that these prayers are fard, meaning it's more of an obligation to perform them. Whereas wajib in their eyes is a lesser obligation, but it is still an obligation. So they distinguish between the two. They make a distinction between the two. Now, so they don't, when they say it's obligatory, they don't mean it's obligatory like the 5 prayers. They mean it's obligatory, but of a lesser degree than the 5 prayers. But they still hold it to be obligatory. Obligatory. No. This is their opinion, the Hanafi opinion. Ahnaf. And no. The reason for that, the evidence that they have for that, is that they say, in terms of the language, fard and wajib are 2 different things. In terms of the language, in terms of linguistics, the meaning behind fard and the meaning behind wajib are of 2 different things. It has 2 different meanings in the language. So therefore, they say in regards to the sharia, in regards to the hukum, the ruling, likewise, then it has to have 2 separate rulings. This is what the Hanafis, this is their opinion, the Hanaf. The rest of the madahib, they say no. They say fard and wajib has the same meaning. Has the same meaning. And there's no difference between the 2. We can say this prayer is wajib, and we can say this prayer is fard. There's not a difference between the 2. And this is the other madahib. So the first type of the voluntary prayer we have is that which is a voluntary prayer that is specific. And the second one we have is the prayer which is general, a voluntary prayer, which is general, that the Sharia has not come to specify it with a specific characteristic or a specific time. فَلِلْمُسْلِمْ أَنْ يُصَلِّيَ مِنَ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ مَا شَاءَ. So for the Muslim is to pray in the day and the night that which he wills. That which he wills. Yani it's not specific. If he wanted to perform 2 rak'ah now, he can perform 2 rak'ah now. Yeah, so it's up to him. As long as he doesn't make it, he doesn't specify it or make it specific. Something that is left general. Then we have على من تجب الصلوات الخمس. So who are the 5 daily prayers obligatory upon? تجب على كل مسلم مكلف ذكر أو أنثى. Is obligatory upon every male and female Muslim who is mukallaf, and who is held accountable. حر أو عبد, the one who is free and the slave. Muqim or Musafir, the one who is a resident or is a traveller. Sahihun or Murid, the one who is in good health and the one likewise who is ill. Fi salamin or harb, in a state of security and safety, and likewise in a state of war. وهذه الصلوات الخمس هي الواجبة بحق الإسلام. So these 5 daily prayers, like we mentioned before, are obligatory in regards to the right of Islam. They are right of Islam. فما زاد عليها فهو تطوع. And that which he increases upon, then it is voluntary. And that is taken from the hadith of Talha رضي الله عنه, when he said جاء رجل إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أهل نجد. The man came to the Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم from the people of Najd. فإذا هو يسأل عن الإسلام, and he asked Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم about Islam. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم 5 صلوات في اليوم والليلة. 5 daily prayers, 5 prayers performed in the day and the night. فقال هل علي غيرها, is there anything other than that upon me, يعني in regards to the salah? قال لا إلا أن تتطوع, no, except that you perform voluntary prayers. Likewise, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وصيام رمضان, and fasting the month of Ramadan. قال هل علي غيره, is there anything else upon me, يعني other than fasting the month of Ramadan? قال لا إلا أن تطوع, no, except that you يعني volunteer from within, from your own self. نعم إلى آخر الحديث. Likewise, we have the hadith of Amr bin Shu'ayb عن أبيه عن جده قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مروا أولادكم بالصلاة وهم أبناء 7 سنين. To order your children to pray, and whilst they are 7 years of age. وَاضْرِبُوهُمْ عَلَيْهَا وَهُمْ أَبْنَاءُ 10, and hit them upon that whilst they are at the age of 10. وَفَرِّقُوا بَيْنَهُمْ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ, and separate them in their beds. We'll stop here for now. Next time we'll go into the actual main gist of this book, which is the description of the prayer itself. So that is an introduction to the ṣalāh and the meanings of the ṣalāh throughout the Quran, and who the ṣalāh is obligatory upon. And then we're going to go into the actual description of the prayer and how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prayed. And we're going to deal with the different ahadith that pertains to that. نعم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله